right, here, welcome back. It's TVC Breakfast and we're still talking. Now it is really talk time. Football has gone past being a sport to a unifying factor, not only in Nigeria but around the world. And Nigeria has a huge followership for foreign leagues like the English Premier League, the German Bundesliga, Spanish La Liga, Serie A, among so many others.
When you were in Germany, I wonder if you go out to watch football sometimes.
Yeah, I remember seeing Bayer Leverkusen once, Mönchengladbach, and all the rest of them.
Good. But now you're here. How many of the Nigerian football matches have you gone to watch? Don't answer, I know that already. Now, according to CIES Football Observatory, a research outfit, Nigeria is the 5th largest exporter of football talents in the world. And the league management company organizes Nigeria's football leagues within the country season by season. And it goes on. Now, the indigenous football clubs in Nigeria, or football teams, as the case may be, a lot of people have different things to say about them as to how far they have come, how much of a business they are than just the formality of things. We have joining us right now Yomi Kuku. He is a sports entrepreneur, a sports consultant. He is also a journalist. He's everything. He's everything in sports, everything. Yomi, good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you.
Alles klar.
Es geht mir, es ist nicht alles klar. Wie geht's dir?
They just lost me in there. And we'll be expecting a journalist, Aigboke Ojekere, also joining us. We'll be expecting him to join us shortly. Now, Yomi, let's come to the issue now. We don't have all the time, but I'd like us to be able to dwell on a few things before we round off. Now, you have been in Nigeria, you've been US, you've been to England, you've seen all of these leagues. When we come back to Nigeria, so many of our clubs have existed for 20, 30, 40 years. What is really the issue with the clubs, football clubs in Nigeria?
Well, I think most of the time we don't dwell on the fundamental thing affecting Nigerians, which is basically our sense of orientation. And until we change that, we're not going to be able to have any headway in anything we're doing. And you just asked, I mean, you made references to the Spanish La Liga, the Premiership, and Nigerians following all the teams. These are teams that they've got nothing to do with Nigerians. We don't share any heritage with them. We practically don't know. And I'm happy she spoke German very well. In Germany, on a weekend, do you see anybody watching the Premiership? They watch strictly the Bundesliga.
Bundesliga.
That's what they watch. They don't care. So, and this has to do with a sense of national mentality, people feeling some sense of pride in them. You can't take away this. Some people are likely going to water this down by saying, well, it's business, give me what I want. Okay, then I'll take it, I'll pay my money for it. It's also an excuse for people who absolutely don't have a sense of history. That's the problem.
So where would you put the blame then? There are some people who say, look, the fans are not even interested. So why would corporate Nigeria, for example, put their money
It is the fans
there?
who make up the corporate Nigeria. A fan on the street becomes a brand manager of a company. He doesn't want to put money into the Nigerian league. This is the problem. When people have a false sense of history, it creates a problem, multiplier effect in many other sectors, including football. For instance, I was born, growing up, supporting stationery stores. I've never supported any foreign team. There's no reason I'm going to support any foreign team because I share nothing with them. I'm a Nigerian. I was born, bred, and buttered in Lagos. And I grew up in a Equatorial area. So what I'm saying in essence is that it is imperative for us to try and shape in our sense of history first. And you and I know very well what happened to history class. I mean, being already...
That's not even taught anymore. All right, let's move on before we continue with this, Yomi. Now, the league management company, LMC, organizes Nigeria's football league. The indigenous premiership has a level of progression starting from the Nigeria Amateur League to the Nigeria Nationwide League, the Nigeria National League, and then the highest football league or level, that's the Nigeria Professional Football League, NPFL. That's about 4 different
levels
leagues there.
All right. Okay. Now, 20 teams participate annually in the Nigeria Professional Football League, and depending on their performance, they could be relegated or promoted, just like everyone knows how it goes in England. Now in Nigeria, football clubs are owned mainly by governments, especially state governments and private individuals.
Now, but there are so many problems the Nigerian Premier League is facing today. But before we go into some of those problems, Nigerian leagues or teams are owned by government.
Yeah,
and the people, okay, all right.
Let's go on a break.
Let's
go on a break.
On a quick break. When we come back, of course, I will land with my question. Right, you're welcome back. We're still talking about funding the Nigeria Premier League. How can this be? Yomi Kuku is our guest right here in the studio. He's a sports analyst and sports entrepreneur. Now, I asked you before we went on that break, why should government continue to own football teams and generally the leagues?
Well, if you go back decades, in 70s, 80s, we had individuals who, setting up teams, funding and doing all that, and paying the players regularly. As a matter of fact, players hardly want to play for government teams like Calabar Rovers, Sharks, or maybe any other team. We had Abiola Babes, we had Leventis United, we had Iwanyan National. Chief Iwanyan bought over Spartans of Owerri. And part of the problem is that as the economy of Nigeria began to take a downward turn, then what meant was that all these private business owners had to, their businesses collapsed, and they had to also collapse the football teams. And in between, some people go with the proposals to the government to say that, oh, we shouldn't let this team die. Like from Spartans to Iwanyan National and then to Heartland, nobody knows what name they will come up with again. The only reason you will find teams like Rangers and Shooting Stars still existing is because of the tribal affiliations, because Rangers basically represent a certain history, and so is Shooting Stars. And to an extent, Kano Pillars. These are three major institutions that we know. Outside of this, every other team came as a child of, the governor being given a proposal to set up a football team, and then they also identifying the fact that it could also be a point of political patronage, bringing people who says, oh, they love football, they're youth at heart, even they are 80-year-old men and all that, and they've got no ideas on how to run this game. So they basically bring all these people, and they vote huge sums for these teams, which are never expended. There's never been a time they declare profit or losses, annual audits or whatever. Look at a team like Warri Wolves, now called Delta Force. For billions of naira spent on that team over the years, what has happened? They can't even boast of an academy. Over the last 10 years, they've been funding this team, and nobody's asking questions. So basically, the government teams are systems and processes of political patronage and also a conduit to take money from the system.
Out.
That's the truth. Let's be honest about it.
Wow.
And they are also part of the problem because they basically go out of their way to compromise the refereeing system, the process of the Nigerian Premier League itself. No matter how hard Mr. Shehu Diko is trying, there are still some people who go ideas on how to run this game. So they basically bring all these people and they vote huge sums for these teams, which are never expended. There's never been a time they declare profit or losses, annual audits or whatever. Look at a team like Warri Wolves, now called Delta Force. For billions of naira spent on that team over the years, what has happened? They can't even boast of an academy. Over the last 10 years, they've been funding this team, and nobody's asking questions. So basically, the government teams are systems and processes of political patronage and also a conduit to take money from the system.
Out.
That's the truth. Let's be honest about it.
Wow.
And they are also part of the problem because they basically go out of their way to compromise the refereeing system, the process of the Nigerian Premier League itself. No matter how hard Mr. Shehu Diko is trying, there are still some people who go out there to do those things to compromise.
So in all of this, who do we hold responsible?
Nigerians,
is it
everyone.
But somehow we know all of us somehow indirectly have, because the point there is you can also blame me for not going to the stadium to watch the match.
Because I'm about asking that. How about you?
She was doing that in Germany, no, not in Nigeria.
No, besides that, I only go to the stadium to do exercise, and that's it.
Really?
I don't even know that any kind of sports goes on there, whether it's football or swimming
or whatever. No, but I'm telling you, there are so many sports that go on in the stadium.
Okay, so how do we make this NPFL
I think it's
more attractive to especially the fan? Because without the fan,
well, some of the teams
sponsors
are actually
may not come on
trying.
board.
I'll give you an instance. Remo Stars which is owned by Shoname, the former. So a team like Remo Stars, they're doing some match the activations.
They've just been promoted to.
Yeah, Ikorodu United too. They were doing before they got relegated to the lower league, and then they're still doing.
FC,
yes, exactly.
and
then MFM are not really doing match the activations per se. But these are some of the ways by which they could bring the fans back. And then again, Nigerians need to search inwards. This is your country. You can't abandon your country and keep supporting Arsenal, Liverpool, and all that. Listen, I see people on the stage, oh, we beat you last night. I said, we. Who are the we? That's ridiculous. I mean, I can't understand how somebody, I'm not an Englishman.
It amazes me to know.
You know, I paid a visit to a friend 2 weeks ago, and I saw his kid wearing Arsenal jersey. My friend is already breeding another rebellious and unpatriotic Nigerian. And they're putting on the jerseys. So it's not a question of saying, package it well, we'll patronize it. No, that's not it. China wasn't built like that. No serious country was ever built like that. No matter the mediocrity in the system.
Isn't that where leadership comes in? Where you have a leader who actually sets the agenda and says, look, Nigeria first, like you have Donald Trump doing now.
Well, when you're talking about leadership, where does it come from? It comes from the followership. This is the problem. We're not looking in the mirror. We're not saying the followership is the problem. And what makes the followership the problem? It is from the followership you have the leaders. We've seen quite a number of them who were student activists, who were like commentators, social commentators, and they were following Fela Anikulapo Kuti. They were attending the shrine and being rebellious, and they got to position. What are they doing now? Totally different things. They think differently, they act differently, and people still follow them. And you find people on social media still supporting these people and giving reasons why, okay, if we don't qualify for 2 Nations Cup, so what's the big deal? And they say, oh, he's trying his best. Oh, somebody is somewhere representing Nigeria. Under whose?
All right, but in Nigeria now, although we've seen 1 or 2 companies that or corporate organizations that put their monies into the national team at one time or the other, but besides that, let's come to because everything starts from amongst the clubs before you get to the national team where it becomes a unifying factor. Everybody sits down to watch that. But amongst the club, are they companies big enough or patriotic enough to put their monies into packaging and investing?
It is possible. Part of it has to come with the legislation to force Nigerian companies.
Force?
Yes, you have to force them.
The word force.
Listen, let's get something very right here. In serious country, you compel companies to be responsible. What is responsibility? You can't convert Nigeria's monies sponsoring those European clubs. You see, for instance, a corporate brand saying they're partners of Manchester United, Juventus, you know, all these teams. They're not doing it for free. They're paying money, hard-earned foreign currency.
And you have a Nigerian billionaire who wants to buy, is it Arsenal?
No, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to go into that at all. Listen, what we do to ourselves, we're extremely wicked to ourselves. We need to look at ourselves and ask, what exactly do we want? So if we want the Nigerian Premier League to grow, we need to think Nigerian. We need to be proud of whatever we have. Now, when we go into this, we can now challenge those who are there. Because when we're fed up, something inside us gives us an impression that we need to go and fight over our collective heritage. So for the Nigerian Premier League to be top over there has to be compelling legislation. Compelling that will hold people, reprimand them, punitive measures against them. You can't keep letting people go on the loose cannon. No society has ever developed like that. China, 50 years, Chairman Mao Zedong, 50 years, hard work, compelling people to do what China wanted. You call it human rights violation. That's your language. That's what it is.
It's just your own direction.
It's your language. The definition is your opinion.
Okay, let's bring in Foladili in here if she's ready to give us a reaction. Fola, for the 3rd time you're my word today. That's really interesting.
Very rare. Good morning, Yomi. Lovely to see you. Good morning.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, let's see. I don't even want to say anything. Let's see what people are saying. Mr. Wright says, I feel it's unfair that Nigerian guys watch Premier League, that's the EPL, all the time, but don't watch Nigeria at the AFCON or any Nigerian matches. Sensei says, serious question though, are there local derbies in the Nigerian Premier League?
Whoa. Big question.
Mr. Nigeria, Tunisian clubs always buying the highest goal scorers of the Nigerian Premier League. It's time our clubs improve welfare and professionalism. Emi Manasseh says, while we're at it, we shall ban everyone from watching the EPL. We need to look inwards. We have our own Nigerian Premier League. My Lady Yusuf says, give us the turf, the crowd, media coverage, and of course the money. And Nigerian Premier League will be better than EPL. Abi?
Oh, all right.
real.
Well, we just have anyway. Let me allow you to ask your question because we have another guest joining us. On
Yeah,
the
okay.
set.
Okay, Yami, so I was actually talking with someone and he said, I asked him why he doesn't follow the Nigerian Premier League as much as he does the EPL, and he said it's because of media coverage, which someone touched on here.
That's not true. That's not true. I tell you, I mean, the guest coming in right now.
He's already shaking his head. We'll take him on soon.
He's been himself, George Apanya, quite a number of them. They introduced private initiatives to support the Nigerian Premier League, to put it in the media, speak about this every time. They spend their own money, expending their own. If we don't play our individual parts, we will never get anywhere. We're full of excuses. We don't look in the mirror. This is the problem. You know, what team are you supporting? Never in my life. I was on a flight from Poznan, Poland, to London, like about 7 years ago, and this English guy was asking me, which team do you support? I said, stationary stores. And I said, what team is that?
Where is that?
Yeah. Okay. And I said, how about you? He said, Chelsea.
He said, where is that?
Nigerians support foreign teams. I said, not me. And he now confessed, like,
So,
okay, I actually
All right, we
support
have
Ojekere.
Ojekere Aigoje, a publisher, editor-in-chief, Niger League, joining us right now. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning.
Right.
Take it from there.
I think a lot of Nigerians are ignorant of the Nigerian professional football league. I mean, no, that's one of the problems. It's called the NPFL. Some people say, yeah, it used to be the NPL, but it's been rebranded, you know, and now it's called the Nigerian Professional Football League. I listened to Yomi. I mean, he made some nice points. I think first of all, government has a role to play.
Okay.
The role is this. You look at let's take America, for example, now. Anything that happens in the White House, the next day is on Nigerian, front page of Nigerian dailies. I give you this example. It's all PR. The Super Bowl, you know, the Super Bowl, the NBA, they call it the World Series. It's played in America. It's not the World Series. But when the champion, the champion has a match, the next day they go to the White House, they present the trophy to the President of America. The next day, Nigerian dailies, front page. What we should do in Nigeria, what government should do. I've expected that Rangers, who won the last title, should have been invited to to Aso Rock, not for money. Present the trophy to Mr. President. Because Mr. President is receiving the trophy, the next day it's going to be in the dailies. That's PR. That's what government should do. Government
Effortlessly.
It's going to be on the front pages of the newspapers. You know, and that's what they do in America. They play one small team. You know, they call it World Series. They don't play it outside America. So why is it World Series? But you don't blame them. It's all PR. I mean, you mentioned, you know. So that's the team. That's the way to go. But I think a lot of Nigerians again are ignorant. The truth is this: you have to support your own league. Kano Pillars' jersey, I mean, it's all over the place. It's ubiquitous. You know, I like them for that. You find your buyer doing the same thing. I mean, made an audacious move, went to West Ham. He's all building the brand. I mean, we all know what this guy do. They know the markets in Asia. They go there, they push the product into Asia, and that's what the man has done. Whenever there's a game, you know, a Western game, if find your buyer, the team is mentioned, Capital Oil is mentioned, he's pushing his brand.
And you're influenced by what you see.
Yeah, exactly. Visibility.
Yeah, visibility. So that deliberateness should really, does government even really appreciate that the fact that football or sports generally is business?
Government doesn't.
No, to them it's recreation.
Yeah, that's the word.
Okay, and that's...
We're not even talking about, you know, a few of them have clubs, but we're not even talking about money now. We're saying this is what to do. Just use the American model. They know that, basketball is popular, but football is a king of all sport. You know, so they know when they want to push their stuff out. Ice hockey. How many countries, you know, play ice hockey?
And they call it World Series.
They call it World Series.
OJ, you missed something. They don't just call it World Series. Nigerians will say, "Oh, Super Bowl is happening." These are people who you will go to the embassy, they will never give you visa. I mean, it's so ridiculous what we do to ourselves. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
I think we have to come back
We have to do this again.
We have to do this topic again because we're just scratching the surface and time is against us. Ojekere just came in right now and we are saying goodbye on the program this morning. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, Yomi Kuku, for joining us right now.
Thank you so much.
Ojekere Aikoji, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Even though we didn't dig deep, you just came in, but I'm going to plead to my
producers, so you will have to do this again.
Do this again, so we can really touch this because in sports, there's a lot of money, a lot of business that we can get in from there. And Fola is still here.
Yes.
Fola,
We're ending together today.
Okay,
do
let's
you
do
know
it.
there's AFCON going on now?
I do actually.
Do you follow it?
But, do you know, I'm a bit sad because Nigeria is not in it, so I'm not following it.
Which Nigerian club are you supporting?
You know,
all right,
All right.
time
No,
out.
don't go there. Don't go
Say
there.
Arsenal because you're going to have my
That's part of the
head.
problem.
Yeah,
That's
we have
part of the problem.
exactly.
Arsenal, can you imagine?
Enyimba, hey.
You see, the problem begins with
Stars.
media outlets.
No, it's not just the media. Even the governor of a state will leave his duty post to go shake the hands of Alex Ferguson. How about
All
that?
right, this is where we come
you
to
go.
the end of today's edition of the program and even the week. On Monday, we'll be back again. Have a great weekend. I am Mike Okwachek.
And as you have a great weekend, think Nigeria first. I am Ngozi Alebu signing out. Bye now.
And I'm Fola Dele Falana.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.
Bye.